book talk. Haven't done this in a while. I've done what? I thought I'd talk about a book that I read a couple of weeks ago. Fly In, Fly Out by Georgina Penney. This book is actually the prequel to Irrepressible You, but I don't have that one. So this book focuses on Jo, and Stephen, Jo for her job, she flies to some other country place, does work, gone for weeks at a time, and then comes back. And while she's away, Amy and her best friend Scott is Stefan's cousin. Amy and Scott tell Stefan that he can temporarily move into Jo's place and that she's completely okay with that, when she actually has no idea, because she's meant to be going away on a holiday and he needed a place to stay, so they said, oh yeah, you can stay in her place, it'll be fine. Of course she has to come back from the holiday early. A lot of drama set up that Jo hates Stefan happened between them when they were 16, 17, and this is set 14 years later and they're still not over it. It's a pretty good book. I quite enjoyed it. It was something different. The only thing that really stands out in my brain about this book was handjob in a park. That's the one thing that has stayed in my mind about this book. When anyone says fly in, fly out, I remember the handjob in the park. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, then you should probably pick this book up. There's some major parent issues that really aren't divulged all that much. So if you haven't read it and you want to read it, you should probably go. Bye. I actually found it quite funny in the beginning when she comes home and there's this naked guy in her bed, and it turns out to be the brother of the guy she hates. But I really want to talk about the reason why she hates him. I think it's kind of immature. It's really immature. 14 years ago, Stefan essentially got jealous when he saw his younger cousin Scott hanging out with a hot older chick who happened to be Jo. And he went around and told his older brother's best mate. And they made this whole big deal about it at some Christmas party. And she got really upset about that and ran home, just left. Just ran away with her little sister. And so 14 years, Stefan has thought he's the reason she's left. And when he went to apologise, they'd already left. They have some real issues and she's still really quite worked up about it. It's been 14 years. At some point, did neither of you move on from this? Like, it's so juvenile. They're 30 years old and they're both still a little upset and annoyed about it, and that really, it irritated me. I felt sorry for Stefan because, as it turns out, their dad has pretty much been beating them since they were little. He's an alcoholic, he beats up their mother. He got the shits that they went to this Christmas party because it's for the people that he works for, and they don't know that he's a raging alcoholic who beats up his wife and children. He got the shits because they snuck out. And he gives them a major bashing, and that's why they leave. They don't tell anyone. They let everybody think that the reason they've left is because Stefan started this stupid rumour. So they're both established and living in Perth. And Stefan has spent 14 years thinking he's the reason why, that she hates him and he's trying to make it up to her. She kind of does hate him but doesn't. She ends up letting him stay with her in her place because she needs someone to look after her. She lets him live with her, and of course they fall in love. Develop this relationship, which is kind of cute. And Stefan also come out of like a 5-year relationship with this chick who obviously just wanted him to propose to him, but he couldn't work that out. It was obvious to me from like the very beginning, but he didn't understand that. And get to a park, they get drunk, and I don't know, she just starts giving him a handjob after everybody's left, and then gets all weird after it because she's like, oh, I'm a bit of a whore. He's trying to reciprocate it, but she's just like, no, I want to go home now. And then the next morning it's kind of awkward between them, and then they decide to do a mature thing and talk about it, and then they just end up having sex. I've got to give the author props for that, because normally when that sort of a thing happens, you have to wait like till the end of the book before they actually act upon their feelings. At least this went from handjob and then actually sex the next morning, so you weren't sitting there and reading about two characters who like one another but don't do anything about it. Dad issues. Their parents have got major issues. Her younger sister still talks to her mum and goes and visits, but Jo has nothing to do with it. So Jo goes once to visit and can tell them being beaten up. She ends up calling her dad later that night, and she basically threatens to go to the police with the evidence because they have evidence of him beating her up, and her dad is so about image and not losing his job. He calls her back like every night just to hurl abuse at her, but every time that Stefan picks up the phone, he doesn't say anything, he just hangs up. But then when Stefan's sister comes for a visit, he hears the female voice and he goes off his nut. That's when Stefan's like, oh, hold on, something's going on here. My sister was getting abused, and you know, Joe makes up this massive story to cover for it, which I was just like, just tell him the truth. The least you can do is tell the guy the truth. But no, we don't do that. She goes to visit her parents with Stefan, and she unfortunately has a run-in with her dad. He gets quite pissed off, so he tries to give his call while Stefan's there, but it doesn't really work. So she talks to her mum, and her mum doesn't want to leave. She just wants to stay with her dad, even though she's got the shits that Joe intervened. So she ends up leaving, and as she's walking, she gets shot at 3 or 4 times. And one of the times, she's on the phone to Scott. She's like, something's shooting at me. People are shooting for rabbits. And she gets hit in the thigh. She's just like freaking out on the phone to Scott. He's just like, oh my god, just run if you're getting shot at. This isn't an accident. Stefan ends up finding her, and they get taken to hospital. Intense. Their dad doesn't know where they live, because if he did, he'd probably kill them. It's speculated the dad is the one that shot her, but they don't tell anybody because they don't have any proof, and he'd be really good at hiding the evidence. So Amy has the mum come stay, and then they figure out this plan to go to the police, but they want to get their mum out of there so she's not attacked. So mum works out the plan when she's staying with Amy, rings up the dad, tells him where to come and find them to pick her up. Stefan has to go with her, and he doesn't know, so he finds out everything, because the dad just starts hurling abuse to her as he's walking up the driveway, and then Stefan's just like, what did you just say to her? And he's like, oh, let's put on back on the face to pretend he's this really nice, great guy. And not a psychopath, that it wasn't the dad who shot her, it was her mother. Her mother was shooting her daughter to get her to not go to the police. She's trying to protect her husband. What? I completely thought it was the dad. I was like, it's the dad, it's so the dad. And then it just turns around and is like, no, it was me. I shot you because you just couldn't keep your head out of it. Like, what? Okay, I'm not a mum. I don't understand how you can have children and then shoot at them. No, I don't understand how you can do that. Just blown away that was happening. That was intense. That was really intense. Oh my god. Stefan ends up finding out the truth of what happened, and that she's lied to him for 14 years. And he actually tells her dad, I'm not going to fire you, you're going to quit, and you're going to get the hell off my property. I don't want to see you anymore, you're going to leave. When Joe comes out to him, I don't want to talk to you because, you know, you've lied to me, I need to sort this out. I'm gonna go. She's an emotional mess because she thinks he's breaking up with her, which you can't blame the guy, considering she has lied to him for 14 years. His dad even implies to him and says, mate, you made her leave 14 years ago. Like, you could have at least said, no, you're not the reason why. That's, you know, don't have to go into the details. You just have to say, no, it's not because of you. She rings Scott. He's like, oh yeah, he's left. He's going back home. So she thinks that he's broken up with her. She goes back to her house. He's not there. So she gets in the car and she starts driving down to his place, and I think her car breaks down. She gets slipped in with another person, goes to his place, and like, oh yeah, he's headed off to your house. So she goes across to her house. He's not there. She goes for a random run to some random lake, and then Stefan turns out he's there because he drove back to town to go see her because he wasn't breaking up with her. He just wanted to make sure her dad got the hell out of him. Poor Stefan gets to the petrol station where it finds a car. She's not, goes back to his place. She's gone across to her place. He gets to her place and she's not there. There's just a dirt bike. So this poor guy's in jeans in the pouring rain, running, trying to find her. Of course he's got the shits with her. He's like, no, but you know, I forgive you, it's okay. And I loved the epilogue. They're there for like a family Christmas dinner. He takes her into his room because he's gonna propose, and he's literally gets down on one knee. He's ready to do it, and then his sister bangs on the door and he's just like so pissed off. It's the best. He just starts screaming, and Joe's in hysterics because it's hilarious. So he's got to go down for this stupid family photo on Christmas, and then as they're standing waiting to get the photo taken, she's just like, oh, by the way, the answer's yes. And then he just goes ballistic with excitement, drags her back to the bedroom to do God knows what. It was brilliant. I really liked it. I recommend it. I do. You know, it's something, you don't have to have read the first one because I haven't. It's a great standalone novel and it was so good. I'll talk to you guys next time.